Hi, Stephanie. Thank you so much for joining me. Um, just for introductions here, I'm Caroline Bogger. I'm a practice director at McKinley. I've been with the firm for 10 years and am very passionate about the topic that Stephanie and I are going to be digging into today, which is the very big topic of membership. We have done a big study this year focusing on membership and talking about some of the challenges we're seeing. And really the idea is that we have a good framework to move forward with and some steps, some actionable steps for associations to think about as we think about refocusing and optimizing membership. So really excited to be joined by Stephanie, the Chief Member Experience Officer at the American Society for Quality. Stephanie, maybe you can just quickly introduce yourself and your background in the sector and your experience working in membership engagement.
Sure. Well, so excited to be here, Caroline, and talk with you. Membership certainly one of my favorite topics. I've spent my career in nonprofit and association management. I started in charitable nonprofits and then switched working for one of the association management companies, and then spent the better part of my career at HIMSS. Focused on everything from memberships, strategic partners, collaboration, community, probably you name it, we did it, which was really exciting. But I had the great opportunity to come to ASQ about a year and a half ago. And I love what I do. I get to do everything related to the member experience, from our membership, our communities, our marketing, our events, our standards presence, awards, governance. So really everything that makes associations so great. And I'm excited to be here with you today.
Great. Thanks, Stephanie. So Stephanie and I are just going to be diving into, some of ASQ's, current work to really re-strategize membership and optimize membership in their own association, but also some of the concepts that we lay out in our report. And Stephanie, just right off of the bat, one of the things that I was taken with in some of our discussions leading up to this was, defining your target market at ASQ. A lot of times we see associations will kind of move into adjacent markets just to help reverse declining or stagnation trends. And that can be really positive as long as it's not at the expense of the core, kind of a band-aid for another issue. And one of the things that I was really taken with was you all had mentioned moving away from qualifying maybe the type of person or professional, and really this move towards focusing on the discipline and the topic of quality and excellence. One of the things on your member page that is very clear is membership lets you solve any quality challenge. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about when you all sort of made that shift from a job description or a role and more into the discipline itself, and how that first came up and some of the implications of that
Yeah.
change.
Well, I think really ASQ has always been focused on quality. It's the discipline we're across every industry, which is unique to some associations where some are focused in a sector. So that piece has been there, but I think the focus had been on quality professionals. And when I came here, and I feel like we're still going through this journey, I kind of said, okay, well, what is a the quality professional? It's a real finite profession and category. How can we grow? And if you think about the qualities in everything, every industry, whether it's healthcare, aerospace, automotive, I mean, everything touches quality. We kind of looked at how do we change that to expand our market, and to your point of not sacrificing our core constituent, because we don't want to. We have an amazing core membership, but in order for us to grow, we had to think differently. And if you ask folks, and I love asking this question to our members, how did you get to quality? There's not one path, right? And most people don't even define themselves as quality professionals. So when we started thinking about it, it's like, wait a minute, it's really anyone focused on quality, focused on operational excellence, which is tied to our mission, And if you kind of change that and flip-flop it, that while quality is still at the core, but it doesn't have to be the only thing that someone does. Doesn't
Mhm.
have to be how they define their title or what they do, but it is a part of it. It broadens up our opportunity to engage members across the globe that are interested in quality, operational excellence, continuous improvement, all the things that are key to what we're doing. And I think it gives a spotlight to our existing core membership because putting them at the center to share their thought leadership and expertise with folks who may not be as ingrained in the core concepts of quality. So I think for us, it became a real opportunity to attract new members and give our existing members another opportunity to share their expertise within the community. So I feel like it's a positive thing, but it's still a journey we're on. It's fairly new that we've just started kind of refreshing our messaging for membership really since January, and that's been part of that messaging.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's just, if you're, like you said, you serve all sorts of different industries within your constituency, it can make it, challenging to have that super crisp value proposition and meet people where they are, given the diverse breadth of audiences you might serve. But I really liked the angle of, kind of moving into the space more broadly and allowing that to elevate the profession and the discipline. Um, One of the other things I think that ASQ does really well is the community aspect of your value proposition. And in our some of our work, we talked to both leaders in the association space. And Stephanie, you might be familiar with this, but we also talked to community builders in the for-profit space. And, when I say for-profit, we weren't talking to like Amazon or Netflix. We were talking to groups that are startups that are in the business of bringing people together or helping someone along a health journey or a personal journey, very much in the way associations do. And one of the things that came out of that was there's benefits that recruit and there's benefits that retain, and oftentimes they're not the same. And it's the community piece. If that's part of the solution to the problem you're solving, if that's going to help someone get along in their journey, it's very much something that keeps people around and that people will pay to access. And, in talking with you all, community sounds like a very strong element of the value proposition that you work towards. So I'm wondering if you could talk just a little bit more about how community fits into value and what you would say some of the things that you think ASQ is doing really well when it comes to community building.
Sure. I think, to be honest, community is the heart and soul of ASQ. It's really at the center of everything we do. When I came to ASQ, they kept saying, we're member led, we're member led. And I quickly understood what that meant because the members and the community is really core, as I mentioned, to everything. So I think, we have a great engaged, our member leaders, and we're trying to bring that, to not just those engaged member leaders, but that community, expand it beyond. Um, and one of the things we have, both geographic and technical communities. The geographic might be similar to chapters that folks have, around
Mhm.
the world. And so they really lead and drive their own local communities. And so I think that's one of the things that people are attracted to, right? To meet those people close by. But then our technical communities are really focused on topics. And it can be, folks from all over the world coming together on a topic. So I think one of the reasons, community is so strong is we have a combination of both that, based on your location or your topics of interest, you can connect with people. But one of the things I was so excited about coming to ASQ was knowing about how they leverage technology for community, right? And we, I think last year, launched our new engagement platform. We call it My ASQ. That's
Mhm.
our online community, and that's where all of our members, they're so engaged, having conversations, sharing best practices, and that's been something that I've seen in the last year really work well. People come there if they're looking for something, if they have a question. And it's really created this sense of community outside of that local, as I mentioned, geographic section, and even beyond the topical or the technical, it brings it all together. So I think for us, that's been a great tool that has built our community even more than what it currently was with those core kind of this our geographic sections and technical communities. This has created a way that where they can all meet together, and that's been really fantastic to watch grow.
Yeah. Are you all doing anything specific just to kind of, from kind of an operational side to monitor that? Are there people whose responsibility internally at ASQ is to sort of
Yeah.
help, make sure that that community stays alive and active, and you've got well-known people, maybe offering threads? What are some tactics you've seen that
Yeah.
have helped contribute to the success of it? Because it sounds like you get a lot of participation on the
Absolutely. Yeah.
platform.
We do have a specific person whose job, a full-time job as a community manager, is managing that, because you really do need to be proactive. Right, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. If you're just watching it, then it's not going to be successful. So certainly, there's seed questions put in out. To be honest, one of our most popular questions or pages is the introduce yourself page, where people jump on and talk about, introduce themselves to the community, and then just the conversations back and forth. It sparks things that you get to know each about, some of our members. So we definitely have that community manager helping foster engagement, but we also encourage all of the staff to be leveraging it through their work, whether it's our publications team posting questions related to content that is out there, whether it's our components team, sharing upcoming events or things related to the geographic and technical communities. It could be a tool or resource, really encouraging not only our staff, but even leveraging our member leaders. And that's where we found even more success when our member leaders organically, or sometimes we might prompt them to say, hey, can you post something? And it will really start a discussion, because really that peer-to-peer dialogue, we see so much success. And we've also leveraged it when we're trying to get a new message out. This past year, we had a proposal to modify our bylaws, and that was key to the tool, or key to our success, was using that tool and having our board chair post something, having other members post things about why why we were proposing these changes and the
Mhm.
benefits from that. And we saw overwhelming success. And I think leveraging that tool and other communications were part of the key of our success, because we really could let the community understand what was going on. So I think you absolutely need to be proactively, putting out messaging and, whatever tactics you want to do to drive engagement through that tool, or it won't be successful.
Right. Yeah. One thing you just hit on is, and something that we came up a lot in our research, was technology limitations. It sounds like you all made an investment in a new IT platform to enable this community. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're
Yeah.
putting time and resources behind your community pieces. The technology limitations piece is interesting, and I'm wondering if that shows up for ASQ. A lot of times we'll engage in work with clients and ultimately met with, that's so great, we can't do that. Our system's not going to allow us to do that cool flexible billing thing, or we can't really get into that type of model because of our system. And it's so frustrating, I think, for associations, because the truth is we've invested so much time and energy into the AMS systems, only to be having these, rigid and flexible systems. So I'm wondering, I know you all have a success story in the online community you've launched. Do you still have those tension points, and, what opportunities, or are you all having the AI conversation on, new types of things maybe you could leverage to better serve members?
For sure. Well, I think, Technology is always a challenge. One of the things is I'm not only for my ASQ platform, but I was also drawn because ASQ has been really progressive around the
Um,
technology approach they're taking, and I credit that to our current CEO. He formerly was our CIO and a CO and COO, so he understands the importance of technology, and as you know, and is an executive champion for that at the highest level. So, which is
that's great.
fantastic because not only did we launch the new community platform, we launched a new AMS last year. So we're working through launching a new, email platform. So all of these things, I feel like we have the greatest tech that you could want, but to your point, there's still limitations, right? With the new AMS, there's always things, oh, I thought it would just do this. And no, we've got to figure out, is it a challenge that is broken or something that we just want to customize? And it never is exactly how you think. And I feel like our members always have these great ideas. And it's like, well, yes, we'd love to do that, but it's going to take a while to get there because to your point of, the technology challenges, or it's going to be more investment, or that wasn't on our roadmap for this year.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think it's an endless challenge with technology, but we're always trying to push the envelope to move forward. And I think that's one of the things I love, that we're not afraid at ASQ to try new things, and especially with AI. Um, we're not backing away from it. We're jumping in, as much as we can. We're looking at how can we use AI for predictive analytics to create a greater member experience? How can we use it to curate content that our members or non-members want that are going to attract non-members, right? We're looking at all different ways that we can leverage AI, and I think it's really exciting. And I will say, even we have started using it in some places. I'll credit PCMA. I'm a member there, and they have this great tool, Spark AI, and we use it to get ideas for our session descriptions and different things. And it's remarkable how quickly it can help you jazz up, right, something you're going to
Yes.
put to market for events, that before maybe took days and weeks to get the right thing. And there's a whole part with analytics and different things you can leverage. So I feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface, but it's really exciting, the direction, and ASQ is ready to embrace it. And I think so are our members. They're asking us, what are we going to do? How can we leverage AI to create better experience? So I'm looking forward to the future and hoping it will solve some of those tech logistics and roadblocks that we see.
Yeah, we certainly have a ton of opportunity. Anytime, I wouldn't call myself an AI expert, but the general headline is more is becoming available for cheaper. And so, just not underestimating the cultural piece. So having leaders and, staff and members who are ready to try some of those things. And it was funny because we talked to a pretty high caliber for-profit education provider. They're using Slack for their communities and using it really well. It's already on
Awesome.
desktops. People can toggle to it and very engaged in it. So lots of opportunity there that I think we hope that associations will continue to explore some of those things.
And I think to that point, associations are nimble, right? And I always think we're like scrappy. We're like the
Yes.
ones who like
Yeah.
figure it out, like, it's whatever you have, we'll make it work. And roll up your sleeves, we'll just get it done to drive success. That's one of the things I love about associations. And we're going to figure out the best way to use AI to engage our members, our greater communities, just like we've always done. So I'm excited for where we could be heading.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. I think it holds a lot of promise. Um, Another question, and kind of related to community and IT and optimizing experiences, is around the next generation of professionals. This is a well-researched area. Our report didn't go too deep there, but I do bring it up because, as we've held some webinars and some discussions, there's just this thing out there of our younger generations. Truly, there's something intrinsic about the way that they, the society they grew up in, their values, how they're showing up, that keep them from being joiners. And I'm curious, Stephanie, just in your work and in your experience, do you believe in that hypothesis, or are you tending to be on the camp of we might just have more opportunity to modernize our membership programs and our offerings and our interfaces to better align to the next generation? What are your thoughts on, next generation and membership?
I am definitely in the latter. I think you said something at the beginning that's really been core to the work that I've been doing and my amazing team's been doing is we need to meet our members where they're at. And I don't think that oftentimes associations are, right. We kind of, this is the way some, not all are, this is the way we do it or we've done it. And so the next generation, they're looking for something different. And if we don't modernize, we're not going to attract them and engage them. ASQ has been putting a focus for the last few years on engaging next gen. We have different next gen communities and advisory groups. And we're seeing those who are engaged when, we're meeting them where they are at. It's amazing to see how much they give back to the society,
Yeah,
that they're
totally
sharing with
agree.
one another. And part of it is just, meeting them where they're at. A lot of our members have been around for 50, 60 years, some of them, and they're used to a traditional dinner meeting or whatnot, where our next gen do not have any interest. And one of the things I love is on one of the calls, they took up a whole call talking about how, Dungeons and Dragons and how they'd love to like create a Dungeon and Dragons competition and talk about quality and how that plays a role. And so we worked with them to try to figure out how we can do that because that's what they're looking for. That's engaging them. They don't want to go to a dinner meeting and, and chat about current trends. So I think it really is how do we modernize our offerings, maybe packaging it in a different way that's attractive to them.
Yeah,
Um, so
absolutely. There are groups out there that are, and there's a group, Hey Mama, that it's all about bringing young moms together who are simultaneously trying to build a career, and offering, talking about meeting people where they are, very quick meetups, very accessible. Better Up coaching is all online as well, and so I think that's really true. And there is no data we've seen to say that the next generation of professionals are not joiners. It has to work. The ROI is really critical. So we definitely don't subscribe to that camp either.
well, and one thing I think is they're challenging us because they don't want to just take what the status quo. They want more and they're expecting associations to deliver more. And and that
Yes,
they want more, not only more value but more meaning out of what they're doing and why they're doing it. And so I think it's really a challenge to all association leaders and professionals, to think differently and to attract the next generation. And it's
rise to the
exciting.
occasion.
Yeah, exactly. I will say at our global conference, I just asked our team, what was the highest, most engaged post that we had, or social
Mhm.
media post. It was about our next gen happy hour. That was the highest post, most engaged, and I probably the next gens were excited to talk about it, and which is awesome. So I think it's telling that if you meet them where they're at, if you're delivering what they need, you're going to see the engagement and the commitment to the societies.
Yeah. Have you all done any, I think you said you're still kind of on this journey, but the kind of the journey mapping element of value proposition and value delivery?
We have started, yeah, we are on the journey. That's something we're really going to be focusing on next year is mapping it out, not only because we've started it, but also externally, and then start to show that map as part of a recruitment or engagement tactic to see kind of how you go along on the journey. It's exciting, but I think we're just starting that journey.
Yeah, the journey of journey mapping.
Yeah, the journey of journey. And actually someone brought up too, actually with McKinley, looking at it from the volunteer journey map, right? So I think you could journey map all day long, but I think it is a useful tool and it helps people really visualize where they're going, the value out of that.
Yeah. One of the I keep bringing up these for-profits, and we're not saying that we're for-profits. We're not. We're in a completely different tax code. We have our missions first and foremost. We are, led by volunteer leaders, very different. But just the value proposition that some of these groups are delivering, there's some overlap. And so, what are those strategies that we can draw forward? And one of the things that just kept getting, I think, was a little refreshing in talking to some of those types of organizations was how clear the value proposition is. So you might have a number of different things you're doing, but internally, if you can really define the thing that you're solving for the member, going beyond your mission, and focus on the couple of things that do that, then you're really unlocking a lot of potential and clarity in your member program. Because we'll get into membership modeling, and it's kind of like, wait, what are the benefits? Wait, those are available to non-members, but they're benefits, but we don't have a good paywall, and it's a list of discounts. So the thing you're solving and making that super clear and able to stand on its own is really powerful.
Couldn't agree more. And I think that's part of when we started launching our new membership campaign. It was, we realized we needed to be very clear in our messaging, and it's exciting. It's all about being a change maker, and answering that what's bigger than all of us, how quality plays a role in the impact, and that individuals and professionals can have to make a change in the world. And hopefully we start to showcase that value proposition more clearly. And really, to your earlier point, community is at the core of it, right?
It is.
Of the value prop. It's hard to put a value or a dollar amount on the value of the community versus those discounts and other things. And I think which shows the importance of it.
Yeah. Well, and it plays into perceived value,
Sure.
which is just as, if not more important than like the actual value of the discount savings. It's the perception of value. And that's where that community piece really comes into play. And, you might have someone at different places in their journey, but everyone's kind of going to the same place. So you're meeting them with messaging where you are in that journey. So I think the journey mapping can live under that super crisp value proposition in a number of ways. The other piece is just onboarding. And I'm not sure, what onboarding looks like at ASQ, but moving away from email templates that sort of tell the benefit. You already got them in the door. You don't need to show them.
Yeah, you signed up already.
Yeah. Now it's time to invite them to take some sort of step that's relevant. How do you feel about your onboarding program?
So we are going to blow it up. So,
yeah, it's right.
I'm like, this is so fitting. Our amazing membership director is just created literally not too long, like a whole new strategy to blow up our onboarding strategy, because we're like, we need to do something different. We need to make sure we're building that engagement. And just as you said, they know what they signed up for, right? So how do we demonstrate it for them? And it can't just be in emails. It has to come in multiple ways. So we're working through what that new onboarding looks like. We've started down that journey, but I'm excited for where we're headed with that. And again, it's we've got to really curate that onboarding for the individual. I think that's one of the things in the current world we live in, right? With Netflix and all these subscription models that are customized for you. We've got to take that into consideration with our membership, because not everybody's coming for the exact same benefits. So leveraging that data, is going to help us show the members, hey, you clicked on certification. Here's, 5 articles that might help you if you're thinking of sitting for that certification or whatever. So just being smarter about how we communicate and deliver that value is something we're really focused on the next year, and leveraging our current technology to do that, as well as our amazing staff and our member leaders, because the member leaders can help us as well to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, they're, that onboarding, if they don't take some sort of step with you in the first couple of weeks, literally like
Yeah.
14 days or so, the likelihood of renewing just starts to go down and down and down. And so having eyeballs on that and making sure the message you give them or the invite you give them is reflective of why they're there. You're not reaching out to them with, maybe something that's more targeted to a senior leader when they're
Right.
new. And it's easier said than done. That's something we've been talking about for a really long time is, that onboarding piece. So,
And I
um,
think another thing for it is, you get them in the door and you're like, let me sell you the next thing, right? Let me get you to sign up for this event or this, whatever. Well, to your point, let's give them a minute to digest and see the value that they just bought and have them access a resource or something so they can see that value before we're asking them, to spend even more money.
yeah. Um, Kind of going back to community, we've talked to a few folks who said, what advice would you have if you don't have, an innovative culture or a culture that's willing to invest in IT updates or try new things, to develop community? And one thing that you've talked about is the strength of your global sections.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have groups that really see local chapters or sections as kind of cost centers. And I think we would say those are opportunities. Those are real opportunities for you to build a community locally. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how your global groups function and how you've been able to really optimize, some
Yeah,
of
we
your
have a
ability to bring people together locally.
Yeah, we have this amazing system of, I mean, there's a lot of pieces. I feel like even a year and a half, I'm still learning because, we have to, you can get in, you can volunteer at multiple levels, at your local level, your regional, kind of the top level of that, of we call them our geographic council, perhaps is
Mhm.
what we call it. And so we really built this amazing group of member leaders that they live and breathe the society. It's amazing to see, and leveraging them to help build the community. And to be honest, one of our KPIs this year around retention, it's a shared retention goal with our communities because we know there's only so much that the headquarters team can do to build retention. It
Yes.
also really is dependent on those sections and
Yes.
technical communities. If they're not delivering content, if they're not creating networking opportunities, sharing resources that meet the members' needs, we're not going to be successful because oftentimes they're looking for those connections. So we've been trying to give more resources or toolkits to help support our member leaders so that they have the tools that they need to be successful and in building that engagement, for their community.
Hmm. So you're really leaning into tools and empowering and
Yeah.
giving
Yeah,
them
because
resources.
we can't do it alone. We know that. We'll fail fast. And as I said before, often when we're communicating or everything, it's better when it's done through our members, right? Member to
Yeah.
member.
Yeah.
So that's where that to build the retention and engagement, it really starts with those member communities,
Yeah.
making sure that they're doing something because where we find some of our lower retention numbers are where there's not much going on, or we'll get, feedback from members that say, oh, I really wish there were more activities in my local section. And
Right.
so, trying to give tools to help support those volunteers because it is a lot of work for them, which we understand. And so, how can we help them or how can we encourage them to collaborate with others to be successful?
Yeah. Right. Do you have any other advice on how to build the case for change among association leaders or volunteers who might be more resistant to taking risk or trying new things as it relates to member programs? I mean, this gets into a change management question. And, I think in our experience, we see the more revenue that's coming from dues, the more it's harder to introduce change because the more risk you might be
Oh, sure.
introducing. So, if you look at your total revenue percentage coming from dues, we'll find that the higher that number is, the harder it is to make some meaningful change to the program because we're too scared that, oh, what if we make this change and it has an adverse impact? Thinking about some of the features of ASQ, do you have any advice for groups that might be struggling to build that change in some of their key stakeholder groups?
I think if you wait till you see that revenue decline, it's too late, right? So if you're not always looking at how you can advance member engagement and take some of those risks, it's going to be it's going to be harder to come back, right? Because the next generation, they're demanding different things. So I don't think it's how do you encourage, it's how can you not, to me. Because if you're not taking risks and trying new things, I think you're setting yourself up for failure. Um,
Yeah, keeping those legacy programs alive.
right. Yeah,
They say the best time to plant a tree was 50 years ago. The next best time is right now. I feel
yeah,
like that applies here as well. So,
for
uh,
sure. Yeah, I think, and I think it is hard to even challenge people to say, if we're going to stop doing something today so we can do something new tomorrow, what is it?
yeah,
Right? Because everybody has a lot of new ideas, but they don't want to stop any of the
I
other
know.
work. And in order to manage the resources, you've got to cut back on something. And so it's a challenge. I know I've always struggled within the work I've done at associations, but you have to do it and you've got to be proactive to do it. Or that's where I think you're not going to, there's not going to be value in the association at some point, right? Or interest. It'll start to decline.
Yeah. And I mean, we see a lot of that. You just said that, where we're trying to realign resources to new priority areas. Okay, what are we going to de-emphasize or what are we going to postpone for a while? And it is just really challenging to get consensus on some of those things, and it's at our own detriment. So I think that's a really great point too.
Yeah.
Well, that runs through most of my questions, Stephanie. I just want to thank you for your time and engagement in this topic. It's a big topic. There's lots of different angles to it. So really appreciate your engagement in this and continued conversation on it.
It was great talking with you too, Caroline. Thanks.